Welcome back to the channel. This is Anka Engineering and I'm Herman Wiegman. In today's video, we're going to continue the storyboard around clutch selection and driving impressions. We're going to talk about clutch disc orientation in the car. We're also going to talk about the selection of organic clutches versus 6-puck ceramic clutches. And also we're going to talk about heat shields on the aluminum single mass flywheel. And finally, driving impressions. Let's crack into it. In a previous episode in this playlist on clutches and flywheels, I spent an enormous amount of time talking about bleeding techniques. And you probably were wondering why I did that. I thought I had a problem because whenever I pushed the pedal down 100%, the clutch would re-engage. And I thought that was kind of odd. I thought it was a bleeding problem. Turns out I was just pushing down the clutch pedal so hard that the tines were re-engaging the spring pack, and it was an orientation of the friction disc problem, whether you put the spring pack towards the flywheel or the transmission. So I'm going to spend some time straightening that out. In the meantime, I had to drive my car, so I put a wooden block behind the clutch pedal. That seemed to solve the problem for the short term. This is the pressure plate and friction disc I was removed from my Jaguar. This is an ACT, Advanced Clutch Technology friction disc, and it does have the double springs that provides a little bit more damping. Well, if we remove this disc, we can see the condition of the pressure plate, and recall that when we pushed on the pedal, the clutch pedal all the way, the clutch would disengage and then re-engage right at the end, and I can just start to see some metal shiny bits on the tines. So the deeper we press the tines, yep, it ran into the clutches. We see some metal wear and some burrs right there. So too much depression of the tines kissed off on the spring pack. You can see that there, yep. Okay, so meaning that this disc, even though it's preferred transmission side, we're going to flip it around and put this towards the transmission side. And this is a much lower height, so the tines won't touch these. So that would be that side down. And this side towards the flywheel, which we do have a deep dish inside the flywheel. We'll get it out in just a minute and see if there's any conflict whatsoever. I wanted to take a look at the asymmetry in the friction disc. The organic friction material is riveted to these metal panels, and they're shaped like flags. The flags are pointed in the direction of rotation. Now, for most engines, this is counterclockwise when you're looking at the flywheel. Some old Honda engines, they used to spin the other direction clockwise. And you really couldn't mix and match the Honda parts with other cars, and you got some weird clutch effects if you did so. Well, by flipping the spring pack over to the flywheel side in this Jaguar application, we are exposing the disc to essentially clockwise rotation. So, I probably need to commission the right design from ACT. My question is, under engine braking, the forces are in the opposite direction. So really, I think we're designing this for engine acceleration mode rather than engine braking mode. Okay, here's a comparison of the two pressure plates that are being used for the ASCO Motorsports lightweight flywheel for the Jaguar F-Type manual. The one on the left here is the Sachs original pressure plate that ASCO Motorsports coupled with their flywheel. It is an MF240 Type M, and this is the ACT Advanced Clutch Technology P013, which means Porsche application number 13. And it's very similar. The same 18 splines, 9 retention rivets. The same over here, 9 retention rivets, 18 splines, same curvature, same type of metal. Also, all the holes are the same. So basically, it's a carbon copy design. Interesting, though, is on the interior. The Sachs MF240 style does have an inner groove that's reduced here. It uses less of the contact patch on the friction disc than the ACT, which is just a simple flat one. We will notice, though, it has the same spline suppression mechanisms here as well as here. So basically an identical part. This is the one that I'm now moving forward with for the Jaguar F-Type manual with lightweight flywheel from ASCO Motorsports. Here's some more detail I want to show. See if I can get this in the camera. There's also some bluing on the back side, and I can also notice that the inner lip is distorted. So this bluing indicates that the heat is transferring through the disc, but then not mating to the flywheel. So the heat is getting trapped in this region, not being transferred through. Now this is a tremendous heat sink. This body of aluminum can really absorb a lot of heat. It's a little disappointing seeing bluing in the background. I am tempted to add a drop of oil or two to help increase the thermal conductivity between the friction disc with the heat shield and the flywheel. The peak temperatures will still be here, but the average heat or average temperature being transmitted to the flywheel should be enough for the aluminum to handle, low enough for the aluminum to handle. So I'm tempted to add oil behind here just to increase the thermal conductivity, but of course putting oil back behind your friction surface isn't necessarily a very smart thing. The oil will leak out and centrifugal force will force it across. But when you park and stop the car, any oil that's seeped out here, of course, will then drain across to the lowest part of the transmission and go right across your friction surface, which is no bueno. So keeping this dry, we're having a dry powder or a means of improving the heat transfer between the heat shield and the aluminum flywheel through something semi-solid. But it also has to take a lot of clamping force, so not a flexible material, but a semi-solid material, maybe a thin sheet of copper. A thin sheet of copper, unfortunately, copper is quite pliable and won't be able to take the repeated clamping force. It will just squeeze out. Or is that okay if the copper tries to squeeze out a little bit? Anyway, instead of redesigning the flywheel, I'm going to try to get a new one that fits. Okay, do. I'll be replacing that with a new one now that I've sorted out all the clutches, and we'll be going with the 6-puck design and a new pressure plate. So we're just going to refresh the whole system, including this heat shield slash friction plate. Okay. We got the right one for the application. That's fantastic. On it goes. And we got our hardware right here. And we'll put that together. Another important feature are the Marcel springs found in the organic or street friction discs. The metal panels that look like flags have some waviness to them, and this softens the clutch uptake or engagement profile, while ceramic or sintered friction discs don't have this feature, nor do they have asymmetry, so ceramic or sintered friction discs are much simpler. I wanted to share with you some driving impressions of these various clutch setups. First, we start with the pedal pressure. You'll notice that it's about 50% more than the Jaguar OEM stock setup, and that's due to the fact that we're using this high-performance pressure plate. The second thing you notice is that the clutch engagement point is still halfway up, the same as the stock setup with the Jaguar, and that's because we're using the same throwout bearing and slave unit, and the positioning of the pressure plate is identical to the Jag OEM setup. The third thing you notice is the smoothness of the organic disc. It's not as silky smooth as the Jaguar OEM setup, but it's still within most agreeable norms. The sintered or 6-puck disc does offer sharper uptake and engagement, and this is due to the lack of the Marcel springs. And you can get some stuttering when trying to engage this disc at very low RPM. Now shifting over to the organic disc, it has some issues shifting or engaging at high RPM, high torque. There might be a propensity for it to slip. It's no problem once engaged, but shifting in those regions may be problematic. I thought I'd put my recommendations into a summary table, and it's for the objective of the vehicle. If you want it to be a grand touring car, a sport touring, or track and autocross use. And there's different flywheel, pressure plate, and friction disc recommendations that I have, and I summarize them in this table. And I would preserve or reserve the 6-puck ceramic or sintered friction disc for the ultimate track and autocross setup, or if you have a tuned car that's north of 330 foot-pounds of torque or 450 newton meters of torque, you should seriously consider that option. But otherwise, there's the OEM option for grand touring, and the lightweight flywheel with organic disc for sport touring use.
And that concludes today's video on the selection of various clutch options for your Jaguar V6 manual. I hope you've enjoyed the content. I sort of had fun changing 5 or 6 different clutch flywheel pressure plate combinations in the last year. Put a lot of miles, burnt up a lot of discs just for your benefit. And like Superfast Matt says, you can either reproduce my results or just watch me do it. Anyway, I hope you like the content. And I will be commissioning a new clutch from ACT that is tuned up just right for this particular application with the lightweight flywheel for that sport touring application. And there's an autocross next weekend, so I have to go back to the Jaguar Club in North America. That's JCNA's event in the New England chapter here in Massachusetts, and I'll maintain or hopefully defend my title as fastest Jag in JCNA. And remember, my friends, drive well.